right now I'm connected with Renee, and I'm really happy what she's doing to our community, especially to raise the literary voice in our art. Hai cho na đi nó có biết một cái tu sửa nhà biết luôn trong cha, cho họ biết này biết gì lời chỉ cả biết lời ra đa năng lời ra năng đó bé. Our parents have the most difficult time telling their story to us, and when they tell to us, they tell it with sadness, sorrow, pain that lingers with them deep, and many miles, many mountains, and they carry behind them. So those of you who are poet and writer, you understand this, and especially Renee for understanding this and for trying to put this out. But especially my friend Law Ya over there. Where's Law? I just saw Law. Law is somewhere here. He's been transformative in the community and setting us and getting our voice out there. So I think that your future, the coming future for our writers, young writers circle, you are going to be the next transformative voice for all of us. And I think that in some way you help relieve some of the pain that we are still struggling to go through.
Without further ado, I'd like to introduce Pos Moua, a refugee of the secret war in Laos, now lives in Merced, California. He is a member of the Hmong-American Writers Circle. His first chapbook is Where the Torches Are Burning, published by Swan Scythe Press in 2001. In the foreword, Gary Snyder writes that the poet gives an account of love and family and identity in the poet's new land. Pos Moua's poems have appeared in the anthologies Tilting the Continent, Southeast Asian American Writing, published by the New Rivers Press in 2000, and How Do I Begin? A Hmong-American Literary Anthology, published by Heyday Books in 2011. And his newest collection of poems is Karst Mountains Will Bloom, published by Blue Oak Press in 2019. And so I would like to go ahead and introduce our esteemed headliner, Pos Moua, to join us on stage.
Trong xe chấp lời này sẽ được tôi đâu mà nó cú bỏ thì bé cho phụ trách xe thì rồi thì cho họ cho cú phần đó là nó bé là họ nói bé mua cái lúa ba thì poetry là ba được chơi bé được rồi ạ. Nên sao thì nhớ họ nói nó cú nữa nhớ California, ta sẽ cũng nhớ họ là bên Minnesota lo. Cú chỉ cả nhớ bé cái này. Yeah, cũng nhớ California mà cũng nhớ cha cho cái tiền, thằng cũng nói cũng là sao kêu chế nè, cũng nhớ trong nhà nhớ tàu này vậy, họ nhớ phán đó mà cũng thành都cũng có họ mua thành都cũng cũng lọt kia là hoàn toàn trong nè, cũng tới phụ lưu được cũng hết, rồi lên đó nè, okay, rồi này bảo họ như này một trăm nghìn rồi đó, rồi cũng trong xe cho họ bên nhau họ nói okay, well I'm thankful that you are all here tonight. And I'm glad, Renee, I get to connect with you. Renee, yeah. I must tell all of you how I connect with Renee. We were at HND, and I'm very lonely by the corner and trying to get Hawk book and Zer and Yeah, and I forgot, I think it's New was there. And we were trying to get some notice for our book, and I say, who should I get in touch with? So I look at the app, the HND have, and guess what? There's like 10 top one, right? And I pick all the 4 to email and text, and only one person texted me back right away. It was Renee. So I say they can be great out there, but there's only one person that will respond to me, and I will take her offer whatever she say. So right now I'm connected with Renee, and I'm really happy what she's doing to our community, especially to raise the literary voice in our art. Hai cho na đi nó có biết một cái tu sửa nhà bên luôn trong cha, tôi bên này biết gì lời chỉ cả biết lời ra đan năng lời ra năng năng đó bé. Our parents have the most difficult time telling their story to us, and when they tell to us, they tell it with sadness, sorrow, pain that lingers with them deep, and many miles, many mountains they carry behind them. So those of you who are poet and writer, you understand this. And especially Renee for understanding this and for trying to put this out. But especially my friend Law Ya over there. Where's Law? I just saw Law. Law is somewhere here. He's been transformative in the community and setting us and getting our voice out there. So I think that your future, the coming future for our writers, young writers circle, you are going to be the next transformative voice for all of us. And I think that in some way you help relieve some of the pain that we are still struggling to go through. So with that, I want to start with a short story, something new. Not right off my book, which was published about 2 months ago. Okay, so this one is unpublished yet, but it's fresh because I have my family there and they want to hear something fresh. So you are all my family, right? So I always like fresh stuff, right? Don't you? Yeah. So here it is. It's called The Kick Battle. And let me introduce to you that little story. Nhớ hậu Tết chăm lo tới Tết chăm mẹ Tết chăm mua chiều xí à Tết chăm nhiều tu nè Tết mù xin giàu ya. It's not the way you play soccer nowadays, right? It's like you draw a line and you have an opponent and they come and you have to kick each other on the shin. Don't love nữa nè. Anh nó tự thế còn để cha nè. Anh tự dân. I don't know, giờ đó họ sát tập Tết chăm nhiều họ sát tới. Cú chỉ sát hết rồi này cú họ cho nó trong này trả nè, okay? So này bảo cú chăm nhiều là bảo tan trò, cú họ cho trong này trả. So cú ra đó nâng nó cú hay chỗ này nè, cú ra nâng hay cho cú nâng. Okay, it's called the kick battle. Many days spent in the open hill has now culminated in my heart, as if those days were dust settling on the barren ridge, and my heart flies back in time to my friend. When I was very young, about age 5 or 6, my family came to live in that village. For all my life, I have imagined or remembered it on that constant rising hill, with the rising sun shining as if summer never fades. Our thatched hut was situated on the east side of the treeless mountain, and on the other, huts scattered around to fulfill their places. In this village, each hut was interconnected by interweaving foot trail on this rising impermanence, this peak of sorrow in existence. It wasn't these huts or the trail or that grand and ever-present flat field at the top of the mountain where we young lads used to play every evening. It wasn't that plateau that cuts that hospitable mountain at the top, making it appear as if it were a bald, round-headed Buddha. It is not the rushing river below that harbor this man's early morning, those musical dew and the cool mist which are now rain in this man's eye. These things are now the embodiment of begging sorrow and flooding agony and evanescing yearning. It was the one human being whose brief life continued to radiate in the body of this boy, boosting up the psyche of this teenager and linger in this man's heart and memory the way a temple has over the sitting rotunda of yellow-clothed monks and their scholarly reincarnated teachers. This young human has been the avatar that continues to uphold the life of this man during times of fleeing the long war and during his uncertain illness. He and I were free spirit in this world ruled by our traditional father, our elders, and our neighboring gangs of kids who had exerted and forced their reign over us, who were young and were not endowed with strength to equate or equal them. He and I lived next to each other. Each morning when we wake up, it was usually at the precise synchronized moment that both of us were outside to release our bulging bladder. I would stand outside at the gate and look at him, and he would the same to me. Two brothers momentarily separated by a hollow gate of no one's nation. The only sense of separation between us at each of those morning rituals was just that chest-high wooden fence that crossed over the dirty brook running in the middle of our two huts. It was a muddy and unsanitary drainage which ran down from the top past our hut and continued down toward the rushing river below. Although we both had similar physique, we were not related by blood. If we ever were relative, perhaps we were only so by our greater tie to friendship. I was a little taller than he was by an inch, and I thought that gave me authority to supersede him in our daily decision, plays, and idolized scuffles. He was a kid without avenging anger, always kind and looking up to me and loved me as his lead or older brother when we were together. And I was almost every day with him among the trails. He had a simple confirming nod to his demeanor. When I suggest we set our trap for bird and bush rats, he would politely nod his head. A motif gesture that I shan't ever forget. And there was his eternal smile. If you ever see a human smile, I mean a real human smile, that is abide by the high spirit of the majestic and compassionate dragon. If you ever find love with a person for his or her beautiful smile without adherence to sexual desire or attachment, or if you ever love another human other than yourself, he would have been that person to you, that smile, a love among the grove and wood trail, a friend in the dearest sense of human soul, and dearest brilliance to the heart. Sometimes we too will venture out into the thicket of the bushes and follow tracks of the wild mice and make snare and snapping trap to them. When we find a main intersection of mouse trail converging at the center, I would tell him to sweep away the dry leaves and small twig and make a clearing for me to anchor the trap or snare. He would pick the choicest stem from a bush tree nearby, cut it and shave it off the extending twig. In our own silence, we would continue constructing the small fence to guide the quarry into the trap. Once the holding stake were pounded into the earth and the flipping kill branch is suspended and ready, We would race back to the top of the field and pretend to wrestle and flip each other. He would jump on my back, and I would play the bigger brother and carry him in circle, like two brothers among the dusty air, and the horizon was orange with love as the sun slowly hid away and night cloaked everything in the silence of nothingness. What was left of those times were memories. Sometimes we would come home late and our fathers would wait silently at the door with a bamboo stick, and our father, who did not know the full contentment of existence and universal devotion to play and friendship, would beat us till our back and buttocks bled and their anger quenched like thirst extinguished by the drinking of our oozing blood. And early the next morning, as we each stood by the dividing wooden gate, glaring at each other, our pee streaming down onto that flooding muddy brook and flow away into whatever it may become in the earth of our earth and our home, we felt the debilitating ache of the beating. Who would dare forget the senseless brute and cruelty of the fathers? Growing up as lad among the hills in the old Hmong country is always cosmetic and cosmic and delightful, delightfully beautiful. Yet there were times that delight turned into subtracting love and friendship, which once a blazing show of brotherhood turned to division through association and grouping among neighboring, unsupervised, free-roaming boys. Our childhood was one of testing and growing up to the measure of standard toughness among machoism or arrogance and constant struggle between the tug of our elders and our clique of youngsters who were least tired of running with the shadows at dusk on that plateau field. There was a game we young boys play called Defend the Circle, or defend your territorial line, much like sumo wrestling, except that instead of trying to hoist or throw one's opponent outside of the circle, the two fighters in the circle must use only the shin of their leg to kick or battle until either of them yield or is forced out of the circle by ping. The older boy, who were usually the gang leader, would pick other younger boys to join their group. It was like organization struggling for political power among the neighboring kids of that mountain. One evening, I was picked on a team and my earthly quiet friend was selected to join the other. The older boy sized us up and decided that in order for us to master ping, or for the sake of pride and for glory of the glory, whatever it was, we must battle kick each other because we were of the same class based on our height and weight. I was naive and was a kid who did not know the power of yielding and forfeiting to my friend when I was matched to fight him. My dear friend who looked at me with his usual subtle, innocent, non-avenging soul. So in the line between us was drawn, and we both were pushed into the ring. The surrounding kid shouted taunts and threw threatening tantrum words for us to kick each other. For a moment, I felt my soul halted for an eternity and wished for someone wiser and older to stop us from fighting, from killing each other. But the choral taunt from the boys grew stronger, from the older grew louder, and he and I could do nothing else except to accept the smashing and slamming of our shin together like two balls colliding head-on. As our shin smashed together at the impact point, the ping was not a ping to be registered quickly in the brain. Even though we could hear and felt our own shin bone cracking with each mighty, forceful kick. We kept on kicking each other not remembering that we were friends more than this cruel and senseless show of masculinity among youth. My pride was high and did not want to surrender to him, whom I felt was my subordinate. Several minutes later, I saw the dimness of his face, the face of my own face, and the face that knows pain, and it caused him to quiver with tears, and he weaned away, hopping out of the circle like a beaten lover, his head lowered towards the ground. His once beautiful, unusual nod of affirmation to me was nowhere to be seen. His usual and kind smile faded into the night and away from the crowd of the older boys and me. While the pain was starting to register in my head, I felt hands patting my shoulder and gleeful congratulatory victorious shouts to me. Honestly, I did not know if those were shouts of victory or of loss. I felt more like losing the only kindred bond I had with my friend. Ever since then, I beat myself up forever inside my heart and learned to despise any cultural organization all my life. I dreaded and despised those traditional and rights that demand proof of one's own among the living. I thought the rights must be only to contend against the cruelty of men, not of spirit or any other ethereal being. Since that kick battle, I only saw him from aloft, from far away. In fact, I had not seen him face to face since that battle. Many months later, I heard that he was succumbed to an illness and he passed away. I vividly remember the morning after he died. The morning fog lingered in the air, and as I stood at the wooden gate to pee as usual, my friend was there at his usual place by the corner of their hut, looking gently across at me and nodded his last nod to me, and then turned away and disappeared forever in the fog of my childhood. Love, I know, will never let him disappear from this heart, nor from this memory. The battle kick. And with that tradition from my memory, I give to you China Rebirth. And this poem, when I think of my past and where I came from, I think of China and the history that we are in some way smeared by. It's the unclarity of history for us. China Rebirth. Look for me among the hills of Yanshuo, the country's hearth of stone, towering among snow, in a long buttressed wall, green, down by hard living, so many roads back to me. Even in the new wind-scoured Quamtan Desert, I am always China. All too scaly dragon karst, a sway of blossom along the Yangtze, a heron waiting in sleet. China Rebirth. And this is a poem my sister loved, so I read to her. Hmong women, their hearts. Hmong women are expected to carry with them many hearts, hearts to burn in the hot sun like a field set aflame before the planting, hearts to cry to, and desolation and despair, that long tear which never seems to run dry, even in the harsh season. Hearts to cut down bullets like the catching of the falling petals from a lamenting rose, hearts to fly beyond dark days, hearts to fly beyond uneven roads, hearts to fly beyond distance. Hmong women, their hearts. And I don't know how long I have. If I go over too much, 2 more minutes, okay, one more poem. And this is a poem that made me view my life in America, put into perspective. So I have this allegory that comes with it when I go to this place. It's called View from Eagle Peak. And it's up in the Stanislaus National Forest. We came to rock piled up mooning ground. Gentle lichen encrusted them like 2 sponge hands gather in long prayer at this stance of sky and earth. If there had been a song, if there had been a past, far below only hint of antiquated grandeurs with chimney smoke rising upward, surrounded by sparkling granites. And even with eagle's eyes, one may zoom into those blazing patches of harlequin lupine, sketchy oak, and dried up ravine. Or one may sniff those effusive pine across valleys and wisp beyond the living, feel the bed of dream evened, view from Eagle Peak. Well, I thank you for coming, and I hope that you will support some of us and support Tiger Bite and what Renee we are doing here, especially for this coming new year. A grand display of wonderful art, something that I feel very new to the Hmong New Year, okay? Something extraordinary, something that is more uplifting to me than just going to see Hmong New Year. So this will be something very new and very extraordinary to me. So I thank you all for coming tonight, and I hope you continue to put your pen into your verses and that make your voice speak in ways no one has spoken to you. So for all you who are my friend and the many days that I'm still your friend, I thank you for coming. Thank you.